foreign policy of fools. It is impossible to look at recent U.S. diplomacy without discovery that it is one based more on madness and whim rather than reason. That's because much of what passes for diplomacy and foreign policy is driven by the market, which is ultimately the only true bipartisan feature of the nation's politics. The market buys politicians by the bushel, and when they're slick enough to gain office, they serve their interests first, second, and always. When you think about it, isn't this a perversity of democracy? In Raj Patel's fine new book, Stuffed and Starved, The Hidden Battle for the World Food System, we find a telling quotation from Robert Strauss, the former head of the Democratic National Committee, describing his relationship with the agricultural business giant Archer Daniels Midland. Speaking of the company's chairman, Strauss said, "Dwayne Andreas just owns me, but I mean that in a nice way." If you visited the Capitol, you'd doubtless find hundreds of men and women who could replace ADM with Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Occidental Petroleum, ExxonMobil, Halliburton, ad infinitum. And it is precisely of such interest that foreign policy is made. It's not, and has never been, democracy. It's not freedom. It's none of these things. It's what's good for business. One need look no further than America's embrace of Pakistan's so-called President General Parvez Musharraf, the de facto dictator who locked up his opponents, threw lawyers into prison, and sacked Supreme Court justices who voted against him. How is this supporting democracy? Over the border in Afghanistan, the U.S. supports a corrupt narcocracy or a narco state. The preferred U.S. ally is a military junta, a dictator, which oppresses its people with violence and terror. We have nearly a century of examples to prove this all throughout Latin America. What kind of foreign policy is this but an imperial foreign policy? One designed to make enemies instead of friends. From death row, this is Mumia Abu-Jamal. These commentaries are produced by Noel Hanrahan for Prison Radio.